What is going on, guys, and welcome to CSS tutorial. In this video we're going to look at opacity property, and we already covered it a little bit obviously, but we're just going to look at a few more examples. So let's say over here we have a div, and over here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make another div, and I'm going to both make them both the same, right? But I'm just going to make maybe a different class over here. So here I would say 1, and over here this one would have a class, I don't know, 2, right? So class 1 and 2, pretty simple. So I go over here and I'm going to use the quick edit, and I'm going to say that this one should have a background color, and the background color is going to be red over here, and the width is going to be what, 50 pixels, right? Something like this. And over here I'm just going to say that the height is going to be 50 pixels, and I'm just going to make a margin all around, right? So I'm just going to make a margin, let's say 10 pixels all around, right? So the next thing that I would want to do is actually I'm just going to copy all this, and I'm just going to use the command C in this case. So I'm just going to save this and go over here, and I'm going to create a new rule, and we're just going to copy this one over here. So now I have two boxes, right? However, you can see over here, if I'm putting them side by side and I use the opacity, you can see over here, if I use the opacity, how it's different, right? So if I'm using this transparency, you can see that this is half the red that this one, right? Because this one is transparent. And like I said, the values would be from 0 to 1. So, I mean, you do the math. If you're doing 0.5, you're obviously doing the half, right? Or you can do obviously something 0.75. So it's less transparent. But if I'm doing 0.15, it's pretty close to the white. And if I'm doing 0, then that's it. It's gone. Only thing you can see with this live preview right now, but in general you don't see anything. So what we also can do is we can actually make it a little bit more interesting. We're just gonna save this over here, and we're gonna say that in main CSS we're also gonna copy this, and we're gonna say that if over here we're just gonna say copy, and we'll do the paste. If, as we're going over to class hover, right, we would want a background color to be, let's say, yellow, and over here we're gonna write that opacity is gonna be, well, 0.15, something like that. So let's see what we have. So I'm gonna save this. You can see right away. So as I'm hovering over the second div, because I only selected the second div over here, class number 2, and hover, and you can see how it's turning yellow. And let me show you one last example that I would want you to see. But again, I'm just going to delete all this, and I'm going to go back to index here, and I'm going to create this div 1. What I'm going to do with this div 1, I'm actually going to place this div number 2. I'm actually going to call it differently. You know what? I'm just going to call it banner. And here I'm just going to call the inside over here. So first thing what we would want to do is actually we would want to place the inside div within the banner. I mean, pretty self-explanatory, right? We're going to copy this and paste it over here and cut this out. And let's say we're going to say this, I am the text over here, just a simple text. And over here, let's do a couple of things with the banner. We'll do the quick edit. We're going to have a new rule, and we're going to say that the width of the banner is going to be, like usually we like to do with banners, 100%, and the height is going to be, let's say, 200 pixels. And we'll use the famous background, but however, not background color, but background image. And we're going to use the URL for the coffee. So we're going to use the images, and we're going to say the coffee. So you can see that all my images here. It's maybe better if we make it a little bit smaller though, so it doesn't sit there. Well, I mean, I guess it could be fine. So let's just make it smaller. Let's make it like 150 pixels. So now we cannot see this text, right? You cannot see this text here, but we have created the banner. So let's save this one over here. We're gonna go to the inside, you see, to this div over here, and we're just gonna do a couple of things with this div. First of all, what we would want to do is we actually would want a so select a rule, and I would say that color of the font over here inside I would want red. So it's red, so it's a little bit noticeable, right? So that's the first thing we want to do. The next thing that we would want to do is actually we would want to create a background color, and we would want to create a background color, but we would want to create a white background color, so it's completely white, right? And the last thing that we would want to do actually is we would want to use the opacity, where we basically can make this very transparent. So I'm just going to use something like 0.15, something like that. And now you can see that we can actually make this div bigger, and we could place it somewhere in the middle. Right, so we would use a position over here. I'll write a position, and I would say absolute, and that absolute positioning, I would say that I would want from the top over here, I would want a 50%, and over here I would want a from the left, also I would want 50%. Now you can see that it's sitting within the text, right? So as we remember, we're just going to save this over here, and we're going to go back to quick edit. And what we're going to do is over here, we're going to say that this position for this div over here, it's going to be relative. So now you can see that now we have this text sitting in here. Now, there's a couple of things probably that we can just make it, like, let's say bigger. Obviously, this text is kind of small, so we're just going to have to jump back again to the inside one. And we're going to say that, let's say right now, the font size we're going to make much bigger. So let's say we're going to make it like, I don't know, like 30 pixels. So we right away have 30 pixels. And the next thing that I would want to do is, let's say, make a opacity different too. I'm just going to make it maybe, and I don't need to create a new one. Actually, I can just do it over here. I already had it. So let's say we'll make it to 60, right? So this one looks a little bit better. And don't worry if you can see it here on the left-hand side. Actually, what happens is as you move it here, this is what happens. This is our text, and this is where it's sitting. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.